here at BBC Radio York at 20 to 11, Saturday morning then with me, Russell Walker. Now, I'm really rather pleased, actually. We managed to get my next guest to appear on the show this morning in a puff of smoke, as they say. Luke Jermay describes himself as a mentalist magician, has a long and rich history and tradition to that field. He knows you, your memories, your past, your present, your future, sometimes even better than you do. And he's direct from a 2-year run in Las Vegas, and he's bringing a brand new show to York, not just for one night only either. He's planning to come back here every month, is that right?
That's right. I love York, and I came here immediately after coming back to England from America and decided that I was going to move into York. I'm based in London at the minute, but that won't last. By the end of the month, I'll be living here in York, so have a nice little show once a month in a city you like. It sounds like a good idea to me.
I've got to say, in terms of bright lights and big cities, there's a slight difference between Vegas and York.
That's right,
Just the kind of one.
Well, I always say to people, I was in Vegas in total for about 4 years, doing the show for 2, and people say, oh, Vegas must be great, and it is. It's an amazing bubble, but somewhere between a week and 4 years is the right holiday length. York certainly won't destroy your understanding of the universe like Vegas will. It's such a little weird bubble. So coming to a place like York where the buildings are older than 30 years because the historical progress in America is not necessarily there. So it's great. It's really nice to walk around the city and feel like you're actually in a real city as opposed to a fabricated slot machine.
I've got to say, my record was 6 days.
Oh wow!
That's 3 years of effort. 6 days was the longest I lasted, and so that's that. I feel very proud for this. Now, in terms of you and your journey into this, did this whole world of entertainment and the skills that you have to do, you have to start when you're relatively young, I imagine, to perfect these things.
I was fortunate that I sort of was always drawn to weird and mysterious things. I think all kids are fascinated by, a box they're not allowed to look in, as it were. And then sort of discovered that I had a kind of natural aptitude for what I like to think of as the mystery arts. So my show is all based on working out what people are thinking. So perhaps a memory from their past or something that's on their mind right now. It's not psychic or tarot card reading or that kind of vibe, but it certainly is playing in the aesthetic of mystery, which I think is a nice phrase. So for me, I did start relatively early and realised I had a kind of aptitude for it, and throughout the years I've kind of been lucky to work with various people in this country and in America as a consultant. So I would work out the sort of, for the lack of a better term, the tricks that they did on the television, for example. And then that eventually led to me realising, oh, hang on, this is now a career. So I'm one of the lucky people that ended up finding a job without realising it was their job.
It's one of the things you can't tell the career service, isn't it? What do you want to do when you leave school? I'm going to be I'm going
to read minds.
To the mysterious arts.
Yes, exactly.
In terms of the people you've worked with, we'll go through a couple of these and you can tell me some of the things that what it was like for you working. I mean, Darren Brown is
Darren's
kind
amazing.
I mean, his stage shows are in nothing else, but that's the culmination of a lot of planning together.
Absolutely.
A terrific show.
Yeah, Darren's an amazing performer and probably of all the people I've worked with, the person that I just have endless respect for. But working that closely with people over the years is interesting because you see the performance side, but then also the creative side. And Darren is just a lovely human being, and I think his shows are amazing. I cannot say enough good things about Darren, and it's lovely that he's been so supportive for me as well over the years. So, even though we sort of operate in a similar area, we operate in a very different area as well. Darren obviously is all based on psychology, whereas my show tends to hark more to the kind of idea, the romanticised ideas of intuition and psychic powers as a theatrical device. Psychology is often how I'm doing it, and then some other times it's something else, and I think that's part of the beauty. I'm less interested in telling you what it is and kind of leaving it hanging in the show for it to be a mystery.
Okay.
So Darren's amazing though, and absolutely go and see his show after you've seen mine first.
After you've seen Luke's first, we must make sure that is what happens. Chris Angel is now he's in this country he's one of those that people who are into this will know who Chris Angel is.
Probably,
but he is a serious big star in the States.
He's a huge superstar in America. Yeah, I worked with him for the first 2 years of his television show, which I think are very good. And then actually, at that point, I started doing my own show in Vegas because Chris was based in Las Vegas.
Well, he's got his own, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has a show at the Luxor, and so at that point, I sort of got my offer to do my own show, and for once in my life, I thought I'd step out on the stage, and then decided I loved it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, was that quite a nerve-wracking sort of... That's a big decision to make.
Well,
you know?
I mean, the big decision was the way it began, where I got a phone call out of the blue saying, do you want a show in a casino? Do you want to sign this contract for this number of years? Do you want to do a show 2 times a night, 5 nights a week, and 4 times on a Saturday? And you kind of go, sounds good.
To an audience that has a high probability of being drunk.
Well,
we
absolutely.
have to mention this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Vegas is a melting pot of everybody from around the world, and the casino that I performed in was certainly the sort of raucous, crazy casino on the Strip. So yeah, it was a fun sort of comedy club vibe more than perhaps a Vegas lounge show. You know, I kind of wanted it to be the anti-Vegas show, to be honest. Our showgirls were covered in tattoos, and you know, they weren't the traditional feathers and boas girls, but.
Now, in terms of the kind of performance about it, one of the things that you do and you're prolific in is, I mean, the writing about this.
Yeah, I've written a lot.
You love. I mean, 15 was your first one, wasn't it?
I know, that's crazy, isn't it?
It's incredible.
I mean, I'll tell you the story there because I hate it when people say that, because it creates this idea of this precocious little pretentious kid, right? You know, sitting at the typewriter, staring out of the window and typing away. It wasn't like that. It was genuinely a case of. Being interested in these things and creating my own ways of doing these things, and that drew attention from a number of performers, including Darren at that time. That's more or less when I met Darren and started working with him. And I wrote this book on my thinking about this art form and how you can actually read people's minds, or appear to. And it began as a way of just exchanging ideas with people, and then those people decided, it really should be a book. And again, before I realised it was turned into a book. So there's a definite reoccurring theme in my life of accidentally ending up doing something that I then find out I quite like.
So I mean, the future is good for you then. It's a change.
Yeah.
But you're still keeping your hand in it, and you're going to start this monthly night here in York. Aside from the monthly night in York, is it performances still travelling around the world? Are you still writing books?
Yeah, I'm doing less writing at the moment, and certainly when I was performing in Las Vegas, I had less time to write as well, because you know that takes up so much of your time. Now I'm back in England. I'm predominantly doing corporate performances where a company hires me. I go in and do the show there. But I really love doing these sort of nights that will be starting in York, because it also allows me to bring in special guests, so it's different each time. And that's fun for me, but I think it's really good for performance as well, because often, if you're beginning in a performance career, it's quite difficult to find a place to actually perform in. Yeah. So it's nice to have these little shows that are supporting up-and-coming performers around the country in various venues. Yeah. So the Basement, York, a great venue. I like it a lot.
Yeah. That's a good place. So there's plenty going on there. And in fact, you mentioned there that when your show was, the one in the States, it was sort of in a comedy club kind of vibe. And it's kind of working on that system, isn't it? Because guys, experienced stand-ups who are out on the scene get to host nights, and they can book it up as the promoter as well. So in a way, they help out with the people who do their art as well. And
the next upcoming show, which is July 5th.
July 5th?
Yes, put that one in there. There's new regulations about product placement, isn't there? I'm not sure about that.
Well, we can mention your event because you're here. I couldn't have mentioned it if you weren't here.
Oh, well, I'm glad I came.
Yeah.
Do the listeners know I'm not really here?
No, well, this is all an illusion anyway.
Yes.
The whole thing's a work.
Well, so the next show, we have a number of special guests from a guy called Chris Rawlins that does incredible memory demonstrations.
Love that stuff.
Yeah, and it's the kind of thing you just don't see anymore because people, there's not the outlet for it, and it's really amazing. And until you see somebody that's got a memory like this, you don't necessarily understand how amazing it is, because it sounds boring, but if you see it, it's amazing.
Incredible.
And then we've got a guy called Tom Crosby that does incredible card shark kind of stuff, and it's not the card tricks that you would see. It's real dedicated skill, and giving those kinds of performers a place to perform, I get a big kick out of myself. And of course I do an hour to begin with myself of the mind reading stuff, so it's all good for me.
Now you have you've been I can't let you come here with the history and the background and the books and everything and not get you to do something.
Well, I tell you what, we can try to read your mind.
Go for it.
Okay.
There isn't anything in there, but you can have a crack.
Just like comedy. So
almost.
To begin with, take a deep breath of air in and then let it out. Good. and genuinely try to relax. I know, as a guy that, you know, is so good
I'll
at...
just push this aside.
Okay, yeah.
If I go distant, you'll know why.
Yeah, well, I actually kind of want you to disconnect from your professional role at this moment and enter into this with a sort of sincerity. And I know that in your head you're concerned about bad radio, but trust me, otherwise it won't work. So just relax yourself.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you to think back to when you were in school. Now, bearing in mind, when I say school, I don't mean university or college. I mean when you were sort of younger. I want you to remember your very best friend. Remember as many of the details about that time in your life as you can, and just hold that name in your head.
Right.
And now imagine in the corner of this studio right now, your teacher is standing there, and that teacher is taking the list of the children that are there and the children that are not there, the register.
Right.
And when your teacher gets to your friend, for some reason your friend's not there, and you get that feeling in your stomach, you know your friend should be there, and you can just hear your teacher saying that person's name over and over again, but nobody answers. Okay, sometimes this kind of thing does happen, and you will have to help me understand what this is, because I don't think this is actually what I'm going for. Okay. Clark? Okay, who is Clark?
Clark he's over there. That's Mr. Brian Clark.
Oh, that's your teacher.
That's teacher,
okay,
yeah.
Perfect. That's great. Sometimes things like that happen. So just take your attention away from Brian Clark for a moment. And now in your head, very literal man, let's try this in a different way. Up in the air, imagine you've got in big bright letters the name of your friend. Don't say anything out loud and don't count with your fingers, but in your head, count how many letters there are. Oh, so it's a nice short name. It's only 4 or 5 letters. 4? Good. And maybe go toward the middle of the name. Think about one letter for me. Oh, interesting. You just thought of one and then changed your mind and thought of another one, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
But what makes you especially interesting is that you then switch back to the first one.
That's true.
Yes. You started
He's very good, you know. He's very good.
Okay, in your head here, then there's no way I could know this person, correct?
No.
And we didn't prearrange this. You're not just playing along or anything.
No, not at all.
No. These are free choices coming into your head right now. Yeah. This is going to freak you out.
Okay.
Can we bring him in? Oh my God! If he had walked into this studio, your brain would have exploded.
Do you know what? I'd have given you £1 million if he was here.
How about if I tell you it's Alex? Is that worth £100?
That's not. That's worth my attendance at one of your nights.
Alex, is that correct?
Alex is the right answer.
Good. Thank you very much.
Wow. Now that is terrific. That's top notch. That's true. So it was Alex Robinson. Now I was gonna really try and test you because my mate Alex, for all of his childhood, his adolescence, his nickname was Bungle.
Oh wow!
And I was gonna.
Is he okay now?
He's fine.
Okay. That's the kind of thing that could destroy your life, isn't it?
He's a married man with 2 kids. He's okay.
Well, maybe not.
So I got. So there was Alex, and then there was Mr. Clark over in the corner. So there. And I can assure you, sat here when it's just me and Luke in here. There's nobody else.
We haven't prearranged this.
No,
it's easy for people to imagine that perhaps you're just playing along, but
not at all. I mean, that was top notch.
Thank you.
That's top notch. You're very skilled, man.
I hope I see you July 5th at the basement for the Psychic Cabaret.
July the 5th at the basement. Just remind you about that one more time. And so, listen, it's been great to meet you.
Thanks for coming in. Thanks for having us.
No worries at all. Take care.
Cheers.
BBC Radio York at 5 to 11. BBC Radio York.